Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be for you. It's currently morning time, approximately 7:30 in the morning. I'm just sitting outside having coffee and a campfire before I do some yard work. Yesterday, when I was out here, I got out here quite a bit earlier. I was out here at 5 o'clock in the morning, sat out here for a couple of hours and having my coffee and enjoying a fire before I get started doing yard work. But what I had gotten done yesterday was putting the fence up here that I hadn't done over the past year, the past summer rather. And so, I did have some gardening going on here this year. I have tomato plants that are still here, but I really didn't get this garden area in order. I got an area in order along the fence and planted sweet potatoes, but I've had issues with the woodchuck coming over here and eating up all the leaves, so I'm not confident there's even much worth of sweet potatoes in there. But I have to get this row set. And now that I know exactly the size of the garden I'm making, I'm going to be moving this row over a little bit. And I have this other row over here that I tried growing cucumbers in it, and the woodchuck ate all my cucumber plants. And then I tried planting zucchini, and evidently woodchucks like zucchini also. So those plants got all eaten up. So I really had to get this area fenced in. And there's different elevations here. There's a bunch of soil here that I had dug out from the adjoining area, which was going to be the garden. I was going to put in fresh soil in this area here, but instead, that's going to be the driveway entering this property. I was going to have the driveway here, but I changed my mind about it. So I got this area fenced off yesterday as I'm working on it, and I got a lot of soil to dig here. I have areas to block in to retain the soil because this other area where I had dug, it's sunken down there. So I got to do the same thing going up through that area, and then I can start digging soil and filling in. But I'm gonna start my morning out having coffee, watching a campfire for about an hour or so, see if anybody's around, and say good morning to anybody that comes by. This is one of my favorite ways to start the morning out, especially fall time where it's a little bit cool in the morning. It feels really nice to have a fire going and have that heat coming up, radiating off the fire, and having the coolness surrounding. I don't have a whole lot more of these branches to get rid of, so I don't think I'm gonna keep doing this. One large branch that fell off the neighbor's tree that I have to cut up. It doesn't have to be burnt up right away. It can be left to dry for a year. The stuff that I'm currently burning had been left in the yard to dry for a year. I see the looks like somebody's taking a peek at this. Good morning, whoever you are. Hope you're having a nice morning. I thought it'd be a good idea. I'm really not doing the kind of channel that I planned on doing here. But maybe in the future, hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to find a property in a rural environment to build up, like a homestead type thing, starting from scratch again. And I'll be doing things like this, having live streams in the morning with campfires and coffee, and talk a little bit about what I'm going to be doing during the day, and then make videos of what I'm doing while I'm doing it during the day. I don't know. It's kind of all about atmosphere. I've watched a lot of videos like that. People that either go out into a rural environment or they do it in their suburban or urban environment. I kind of like the ones with people are living out in the rural environments, surviving, building up a property. I did that when I was younger. I did that starting in my late 20s, and I guess I kind of wish I did have recordings of what I had done. And I think it's more interesting to people to watch people start from scratch. It creates a whole different atmosphere. I mean, there are people out there, and some of them have been discovered to pretend like they had nothing, but they had something substantial supporting them in order to do it. And I don't really see anything wrong with that unless the people are lying about it, avoiding talking about it. As long as they're doing what it is that they're saying that they're doing, if they're out in the wilderness, even if they own that wilderness, if they're out there in the wilderness, starting from nothing out in the wilderness and putting something together with their own hands, their own labor, their ideas. I mean, there's not a whole lot of unique ideas going on, so it's not necessarily their own ideas, but their idea that they're going to do it and take action and get something done. I still enjoy those. There's a lot of nice videos out there like that. There's some pretty smart people that know a lot of survivalists. They call them one of the groups called bushcraft groups, where they use a lot of I hate to say antiquated, but you know, older style tools, more primitive tools, basic tools, and they do a pretty good job. So I'd like to incorporate some of that into what it is that I'm going to do. One of the things that I really want to do is I want to build modular panels because that's how I started. I built my first building when I was living in a city near Boston, and I built the building there. And between my pickup truck and a trailer, I hauled the building up in a bunch of modular pieces and brought it up and put it together in a weekend. That's the direction I want to take it. I think people would be interested in that. I think it would be helpful for people to learn how to do that. And I think that's the future of home construction. You know, an average person would like to build their own home, and it can be a lot more affordable to do it. One of the ways of it being more affordable is if the people do the work that they can do by themselves. And one of the ways they can put the shell or the building up by themselves is building it in pieces in advance and then assembling the pieces over a short period of time. It makes for a better quality building uh, because the people can get it enclosed. Ensuring a person gets their building fully enclosed and watertight is very important. A lot of people in the past have gone out and done what I'm talking about. And I've even done some of it where the structure gets left open for long periods of time, water gets in, it can cause problems, it can cause mold to grow in the corners, which is very bad. If it gets left out for a long time, it can start rotting. And that happens too. And anybody that's traveled around any rural environments in America see the remnants of these types of things. But I think it's quite an adventure to build a building, and it's even more of an adventure to go out and live in it, uh, even if the person maintains their current place in their current job, which that's what I did while I was doing it. And they can go and use their place on weekends. They build a vacation house, cabin, cottage. It's all good. It's all good. If they can get out into that simpler environment earlier in life, I think it's better. That's what my original plan was, even though I didn't do it. I followed along with what everyone else was doing. My plan was to be 35 years old, have my house built, and have it paid for. And I was on track to doing that when I was 35 years old. I only needed $2,500 more worth of materials to do the finishing touches to a three-bedroom, 1,700 square foot house, which is sufficient. It's more sufficient than I thought that it was. I thought because I'm building it and my family's even helping, I could build a really large house. And that's the direction I went instead of just saying, okay, I made it. I'm 35 years old and I can live here in a rural environment. And I didn't take that opportunity. So I had to wait 20 years. And now I'm at a totally different location. My life is totally different. I have an 800 square foot house, but that's okay. Things change in life. That's the way it is. Oh, looks like somebody's here. I think it's probably Alpine. Alpine had stopped in before. Hello, Alpine. Good morning. Yeah, I didn't have my glasses on, so I didn't really see your name. I assumed it was you when I seen that there was something posted. Yeah, I decided to come out again and have another campfire and coffee in the morning. I've been getting a little bit done around here these last couple of mornings. I was out here really early yesterday morning. I was out here when it was dark out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was a little bit too early to be out here, but I was wide awake. I had been up for a few hours, so I figured I'd come outside at that time. But it's getting to the point where I'm burning up this excess wood that this may be it this morning for a while of coming out and having campfires. I got a big branch over there that I gotta cut all the excess limbs off of it to burn up, but don't think I'm gonna do that right away. Guess it depends on how I feel. If I feel like sawing, I'll probably just saw it with the handsaw. It can be done, and I think that's another thing that a lot of people go towards all the fancy tools, and I've done it myself, where I want all the best and the fanciest, most productive kind of tools to get the most done. But there's a lot of stuff that can just be done by hand and get the exercise out of it. Because at my age, getting near 60, I need at least a half hour, an hour of work to maintain a decent health. At least that's what I believe I need. So I'm gonna do at least that. I had looked I had looked up that Pine Bluffs in Wyoming yesterday, and actually some of the homes weren't as expensive as I anticipated. There was one lot of land. That's a good fire. Birds are loud. That's nice. Yes, there's a lot of birds around here. Yep, must keep moving. Absolutely. The old saying, a body in motion likes to stay in motion. A body that stops likes to stay stopped. So gotta keep some kind of motion going on. Doesn't have to be aggressive. When I was younger, my work style was always very aggressive because in order to maintain a good paying job, I had to be an aggressive worker and get as much accomplished as I could get accomplished and do part of it hard labor work. So that's just the way it had to be. It's kind of hard to get away from that mentality. But yes, there's quite a few birds around here. It's kind of nice. I was going to take down these two trees I got next to me. These trees are they call Bartlett pears, but They're not what I thought, because Bartlett pears, where I come from, are not just ornamental. They have fruit, and these are ornamental. They got like berries that are on them, but they're pretty. They bloom in the springtime, and they look really nice. So for an ornamental aspect, they're nice. I'm kind of big on the food production aspect of plants, but aesthetically they are nice, and things are working out in the direction where I don't have to cut them down. So I'm not going to cut them down. I think I think I can probably design around uh, one that's closest to the side of the house. I gotta at least start trimming branches, because the lower branches are getting to the eaves of the roof, the eave of the roof, and I don't like that. So it may come down anyhow. I'll consider that my necessity. I guess I'll just play it by ear, see what happens. Oh, other post. So what do you think about the land for sale here? I think there was one of the websites, the most pieces of property was 13, and most of them houses. It was only like one lot, only one lot. I don't remember the exact size of it, but it was on the pricey side for me. I think it was 120,000 or 125,000, whatever the size the lot was. I don't really remember. But at this point, I'm definitely not going to be spending 120 or 125,000. The kind of lots that I look at, I typically look at owner financing lots, and 'cause they're the simplest. They can be purchased with the lowest down payments. Like I had said in one of the videos before, they're typically in the lesser desirable, more rural locations. Even the one that I bought, the first lot that I bought was 5 acres in 1988. I paid 9,800 owner financing, 10% down, and I think it was 10-year financing. And it was cheap. It was $134 a month. So whatever the financing was, I don't I don't really remember how many years it was. It ended up getting paid off a little early anyhow. But the ones I've been looking at are in the 35,000 dollar range. And one of the areas I do happen to like is the northern Arizona, and pretty much anywhere in Maine. I prefer near the ocean. That that was the place I wanted to end up being, was near the ocean in Maine. Never understood ornamental fruit trees. Yeah, me neither. I mean, they're pretty to look at, but fruit trees themselves put flowers on just like the ornamental ones do. Thing of it is, the locations of these trees pretty close to the house. They didn't have to be, because the layout of this land is, it's 4 house lots technically, but where the house is, they got them kind of right near the house, too close to the house in my opinion. But years ago, there was a mobile home on this side where I'm sitting at, and that may be the reason why the trees are where they are, was to give room for who it was that was living in that mobile home. But my thoughts more are as garden, and either building a brand new house, because I might do that too. I might build a new house here and not leave here at all. And in this area where I'm sitting, build a brand new house and take down that other old house. That's 100-year-old house there. Not that just because it's 100 years old makes it bad, but it would be better to totally rebuild the house. And if I'm gonna do that kind of thing, I might as well just build a brand new house. I got the room. It would be better to have the house towards the back part of the lot. It's a corner lot, but still towards the back side. I think it would be better. But I got to be in the right frame of mind to take on a project like that. And I probably would go back to work earning an income because in order to get it done and paid for and done, I wouldn't be borrowing any money to do it. I just pay for it as I built it. It would be best if I went back to work. I don't think it would work out too well on my retirement. I have pension money, but it's not a lot. I don't think it would be enough to build a house because once I got into it, I'd have to push to get it done. Yeah, even though I probably would break it up into like a 3-year increment on how I built it. So the first year would be getting the foundation in place, getting the first floor built, the deck of the first floor built. I would waterproof it so it couldn't get any damage. So I would coat it. I would coat it and put landscape fabric in the coating to make it even better, make it stronger where it has the cracks, where the plywood joins together. It would make nice watertight for heck 10 years. I think it's like 10 years. I would use the roof coating type material. Elastomeric roof coating would work very well to do that. So going into the second year would be to get the shell together. And, that would all have to be paid for. So I think I could do it if I went back to work, I could do that. And then the third year I would get into doing the finishing inside. Or I'll just sit out here, drink coffee, look at a fire, dream about it, and never do any of it. Love the ocean. Yes, me too. The ocean is wonderful. As long as it's the right location, it's not near a stinky river outlet inlet or something like that. It's pretty cool. Phoenix has streets lined with ornamental oranges. Seems cruel in a desert area. Ornamental oranges? I never heard of those ones. It's surprising how hard work is getting harder in the older we get. Well, for me, I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't have the stamina working when I was younger, but I don't have the desire. I mean, going out and earning a living and working for somebody, there has to have enough production get done for the company to make money. The company got to make money to survive. And if the company isn't making money, the owner's going to say, "Well, I don't want to do this because I'm not making money," and then it's not available for me to work. And then the only option I have is to find a different place to work or start my own business. And I'm not going to start my own business at this point in life. To heck with that. With the kind of work that I do, with the pension that I have, I can go back to work when I'm 60 years old. I can't go back to work until then, and I won't have my pension affected. So that's a year and a couple of months that I could do that if I chose to. I'm not so sure I want to do that though. I worked at the Macy Distribution Center after I left my regular job, and that's a good part-time job. So I have that potential to do that and work a lot of hours during the Christmas season rush, and make money and buy material with that. I don't know. It's kind of all just up in the air. If I went off to a rural environment like northern Arizona has the most properties for sale by owner, go out to a rural location, get started again. That's something I think I can handle okay with my pension and go out there and just do a little bit at a time and build something up. And I would have to plan it where I would sell this property, so that would give me a good jump start on having money to do that, to do something substantial. I mean, heck, there's a dude out there that I watched. He went out there, I think it's 4 years ago now. He only had $6,000. He went and out, bought 2 acres in the high desert, slept in his van, built a shed as his first building, and he's done pretty well. He's gotten his place together over the past 4 years. He's worked hard. He got a home business going where he sells tea, different types of teas online. It's good for him. It's awesome. But I don't think I want to start the business also. My family has old cabins in the Rockies. It's a bitch now that we are all old ladies. Do you mean you all live in old cabins? I mean, I suppose if you're not the do it yourselfer type person, yeah, it's definitely a bitch. Uh, Being an old lady, that's different for different people. I guess it all has to do with that a body in motion likes to stay in motion. Where you gotta find a reason to get your butt going. Really, I mean that's where I'm always at. It's like I don't have to do any of this stuff. Don't have to get up in the morning. Don't have to come out here and build a fence around a piece of land here. I don't have to plant a garden there. But I like the outcome of the garden, having the fresh vegetables and even some fruits, which I got to grow more of them. Melons is what I'm talking about. But I don't have to do any of it. So that's what makes it difficult. Being raising a family, growing a family, having to go out to work and maintain an employment, all those factors that it creates stress in our lives, but it's the motivation that keeps us going. So in that respect, it's helpful. So it's hard to get motivated. It was nice when we were young. No, we don't live there. Okay. Yeah, some people do. Some people live in old cabins, old houses, old mobile homes. Heck, there was this dude in Maine. He was a rocket scientist. He was a rocket scientist, and he was working. He was working for the federal government as a rocket scientist, some kind of consultant. He was living in this beat up, ramshackle mobile home in rural Maine. No, nobody would have a clue to what a genius the guy was and what he was doing in life unless they sat and talked with him. But yeah, I mean, some people just they don't mind living that way. It's a low profile way of living, pretty much. Is has its benefits. Yeah, I've dealt with back situations my whole working career. So I don't like overworking my back and feeling crippled up. It was my dream to live there with no water or electricity. Well, you need water, so I'm I'm sure you mean no running water in the house. You lost a viewer when I showed up again. Yeah, I have no idea who it is that's looking in. I mean, it could be anybody that just sees something live going on and they look in. Don't take it personally. Yeah, frugal off grid. He just went live right now. That's the dude in Arizona that I watch his videos. I don't watch them all, but I watch some of his videos. I guess there's not really anybody that I watch all videos that they put out. But yeah, I had thoughts about the primitive living. I mean, really, all you need is a water supply. I mean, if you look at the Native Americans that lived in this country, some of them walked miles to get water every single day. They'd have to walk miles. Some of them, some stories that I've heard was a 5 mile walk to get water. And every day it was women that were doing this physical labor. They would walk 5 miles to get some water and bring it back to the house. That's quite an extra chore to do every day. But when we first moved into the house in Maine, we had running water in the house because I had a well dug. I had a well pump inside the house, but the first thing I only had was just water off the well pump, just a spigot coming off the well pump. Then the second thing I had was one of those laundry tub sinks in the utility room where I had the well pump. And even just that, a person can do very well with that. I had a septic tank. I had a septic system installed when I had the well dug, so I had that in place. So that was the next thing that I got set up was the indoor flush toilet, and then the rest of the bathroom with the sink and shower, and the kitchen sink, and piece by piece it came together. But I've watched people that all they need is a water supply. If they live in places where they can build composting toilets and have that as their residence, or I should say, have that feature in their residence as their only source, that's a good thing. And northern Arizona permits that. But it makes it cheaper and it makes it easier for people to get started. I don't understand why people in society don't understand how they're making it more difficult for humanity. All the rules and regulations make it more difficult for humanity. I mean, for goodness sakes, there are states, well, cities, starting with cities, that are outlawing homelessness. Now, I mean, with the influx of illegal immigrants that obviously are coming here, they don't have a home that they're coming to. People could take that scenario and say, well, the people shouldn't be here to start with. They don't have a place to live. Well, what about the people that grew up in this country? What about the people that worked? They worked their lives, they lost their jobs. The financial industry destroyed the economy in 2008. What about all them people that ended up homeless because of that? That was a serious crime that was committed against the people in our country. You could call that financial terrorism. You could legitimately call what happened in 2008 was a purposeful action organized by the banks in order to make extreme profit in the mortgage industry. and they committed crimes doing it. It wasn't just, oh, this dirty bastard didn't want to pay his mortgage, or this bad person bought a home that they couldn't afford. Shame on them. That isn't that isn't the scenario. All those mortgages were technically insured. They're called credit default swaps because if it was called insurance, insurance requires assets to pay out all claims in the event all all policyholders had to file a claim. That's a difference with insurance and what they did called a credit default swap. They did not want to follow regulations, so they created this new thing. But technically, they were all insured. Technically, none of those people should have lost their homes. When it got to the point that there was a huge, I shouldn't say none of the people, but when it got to the point where 70 to 80%, and that from my understanding, that's the point where it occurs when 70 to 80% of the mortgages go into default for 3 months or more in one given mortgage-backed security, which might have $1 billion worth of mortgages in it. The credit default swap happens, and all the principal payment left owed on those mortgages are paid to the servicer, and the mortgage-backed security is supposed to be closed. All investors get their principal back that's left to be paid. They don't stand to make any more money, but they don't lose money. Instead, these mortgage-backed securities were being traded by insiders because the people that are buying them to begin with, uh, pension pension plans, trust funds, these are the types of places that are buying them, and the people don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just buying these things. Oh, they're going down. They're going down. We got to sell. No, you don't. No, you don't. What you got to do is find out what's going on in that mortgage-backed security. Find out what percentage of them is going into default. See if it has already gone into the point where the investor is supposed to be paid all their principal back. None of them did any of those kinds of things. Instead, they cheated everybody. Everybody got cheated. The people who had pensions, the people who had trust funds, everybody, the people who had mortgages. There were even people in those mortgage-backed securities that didn't miss a single payment. That when those mortgage-backed securities were paid off, their property was paid off too, and they should have got notice that there was no debt no longer owed on their property. And that's what the public doesn't understand. If the public understands what should happen, people have a jealousy thing when they say, well, I work hard, I pay my mortgage, blah, 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 blah. Yes, you do. So didn't the other person, till, let's say the automobile sector closed down the manufacturing in Michigan and they lost their job and they did not have a way to pay. And there was tens upon tens of thousands of those people. What about them? They had no way to pay. They had good jobs. They paid their mortgages. They weren't over their head in any way, shape, or form. It was just that greed set in to send manufacturing. But nonetheless, when those people lost those, the people that didn't lose their job could have had their mortgages paid off too. Technically, it was their money that was paying for these credit default swaps. So it should have profited them also, but it didn't. Not a single one did it profit. And did the government stand up for the people? No. What they did is they picked the things like the insider trading and prosecuted bankers and issued large amounts of fines, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fines, which the federal government got. These officers that issue the fines get to keep the fines, so they get that money to spend. But the people who got damaged, the people who were insured and didn't get paid, that should have got paid and had their houses paid, was any of those people taken care of by a government? The answer to that is no. So it was criminal fault, not just by the bankers, but our own government people. They're supposed to look out in the best interest of the public, not the best interest of the bankers that give them bribe money. So true about mortgage-backed security problem. Yes, there's not a lot of people that know about it. I've been talking about it since I learned about it. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it when things went upside down in 2008, and I was like, "I wanna know what's going on." And I dug down real deep into looking what was going on, and there were a lot of people looking, a lot of people putting information out online to make it helpful, and it was amazing to find out what really had happened. I mean, I was working at the time, and I was working at a high-rise building in Boston where Bear Stearns had an office. Office after it was cleared out, and I picked up a piece of paper off the ground that showed a guy's account. He had $5 million on account at Bear Stearns at the beginning of the year. $5 million. At the end of the year, he had $0. He didn't take any money out. They collapsed. Imagine if that was the guy's only money he had in life. There was whatever a long lost uncle left him $5 million in Bear Stearns securities, and he got it at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, it was 100% gone, and the government did nothing to help him. They helped the company survive. They don't help the people. They say, "Oh, well, you knew it when you got into it that it's risky business. It says it right there in the paperwork. This may or may not go up in value." Well, it went down in value. Sorry, sir. Well, Mr. Government, you know that it was criminal activity that occurred, and the only criminal activity you're going after is insider trading. Look at Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon ran Countrywide. He's the OG of mortgage-backed securities. He's the old-time gangster of mortgage-backed securities, Jamie Dimon. Where did he end up? He ended up in Bank of America. What's the talk going on? He may end up high levels in the federal government, and he is a criminal. He is a criminal. He negotiated a deal for his insider trading. And anybody with any brains knows that, if he paid a few $100 million, that he probably actually made a few $1 billion. So that's like the mafia. That's like the mafia. See, Jamie Dimon makes his money, gets his cut, and then he got to pass it on up the ladder, up to the Godfather, which is the federal government. Wow, sad story about the guy you talked about who losing 5 million. Yeah, that's all the money he had in that on account. I seen the paper. I don't remember the guy's name. I didn't write down his name or anything like that. That's his own personal business. But when I picked that up and seen it, I was like, "That's bad. That's dirty. That is real dirty." Because we all realize that the people that orchestrated it and made profits for years and years, if not decades and decades, and live in big fancy mansions and stuff, they still have their big fancy mansions, and their money's considered laundered and clean and theirs. But they set up the scenario to happen, and no doubt the people who initiated the whole thing knew exactly what was going to take place. Exactly. And even where it was going to take place. I think there was a movie made about that where a guy got in and buying securities based on that he knew where and when and where it was where things were going to go bust. And certainly Jamie Dimon knew. I mean, heck, he could watch everything that's going on, keeping tabs on everything that's going on, saying, okay, okay, this one's heading down, this one's heading down. We need somebody to call whoever it is, whatever trust fund's holding that one there, and make them an offer on it. Make sure they tell them it's still going down and it may crash at any time now, knowing full well that they could cash in on the and I'm going to call it insurance, even though it's technically not, that they could cash in on the insurance. Because certain words have meanings, and people don't understand, and they're not familiar with credit default swaps. And I'm not pointing toward you, but I'm just saying in general, when talking about these things, that it doesn't click in a person's head when it's new information. They need to have familiar words that have meaning to them. Insurance has meaning. And again, I'm not pointing that towards you. I'm just saying it out as a general thought. My siblings stole my inheritance. Yeah, those things happen. Those things happen. You know what's funny? And you know what your situation, I'm sure, isn't funny, but it's interesting what people think should be going on because I thought I knew what was going on in regards to my father because I had talked with my father about things, but apparently he didn't do the things that he said he was going to do. So the things that he said should happen or should have happened were never going to happen because he didn't do the appropriate things he was supposed to do. So in other words, he really set up a scenario, and I don't know if it was due to his ignorance or not. It could have been due to his ignorance, but he set up a scenario for things to happen the way they happened, and it caused a big problem. And this was 40 years ago, not 40 years ago, but like 35 years ago. And you know, finally, those wounds are healed. That shit happens. It's terrible, but it happens for different reasons, though. And I'm not trying to get you to talk about whatever your reason is, because I don't think that kind of thing really should be spoken about in the public. I think today's Sunday. That's the thing about being retired. I don't know what day of the week it is half the time. People warned me they would because they knew how things go, but I didn't think that would happen to me. Yeah, there's there's a lot of things in life exactly like that. Didn't think it was going to happen to me. Yeah, there are plenty of things that have happened in my personal life that I felt the same way. I didn't think that would happen to me, but things do happen, and people got to persevere and go on. You know, I've started life over more than once, several times. But I'll tell you, I don't know how it's happened with you, but each time I start life over again, I start a little bit more forward than I was the last time life collapsed. So even though there are life altering events that happen each time when I get started again, I'm a little bit further ahead than I was. It's just that collapse that really hurts because obviously there's a buildup from each time that economy collapses. You know, a person's personal economy is what we're talking about, but it's the same thing in the country's economy or world economy that these things happen at intervals. We don't know exactly what interval it's going to happen, but balloons are built. People get lots of wealth, and things are going good. And in the background, people are setting things up to steal it all. And then the financial sector or the manufacturing center collapses a local economy that might have a ripple effect. It has more of a ripple effect with the financial than it does with the manufacturing, but they purposely destroy the economy and people all get set back. But they got to think of it in a sense, okay, before I started on this path from the last time things collapsed, where am I today when I get out of this? Am I better off or am I worse? hopefully they're better off. Even if it's just a little bit further ahead, it's further ahead because it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And, even when people think that they're totally set, everything's going to be okay for them, something can happen. That what you just said. I didn't think it could happen to me. There are people that are rich that thought it'll never happen to me. I'm all set for the rest of my life. I got all these financial things that are worth tons and tons of money. Like the guy with the $5 million of Bear Stearns probably thought he had his financial success all set, written in stone. Well, it's not written in stone, and that's the thing with the way the the money system works in our country. There's not enough Federal Reserve dollars that were printed. People say, "Oh, the government's printing money. They're printing money." No, they're not. The banks are creating money, and the government technically prints the money, but they do it as a service. They're paid. The government gets paid to print the money from the Federal Reserve banking system. The Federal Reserve district banks loan those Federal Reserve dollars out to the local banks. They got to pay for those interest. There's a minimum interest they got to pay on that when they get those Federal Reserve notes and put them out in circulation. That's why they don't want people. One of the reasons why they don't want people taking out Federal Reserve notes out of the bank in large amounts. Number one, there's not enough of them. I think at most there's 10% in this country. 10% of the notes are actually printed. The rest is all digital. It's always been digital. The original digits are numbers written down in an accounting book. The new digital dollar is really no different. It's really not much different at all. So I'm a renter now. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, renting's no fun. I hope you I hope you have a good person or company to deal with that you rent from. I haven't rented since, oh darn it, 1990 something. I'm not even sure what year it was. Maybe 96? I'm not positive. And heck, I could have ended up having to go back to renting when I found this place. I just happened to get lucky with finding this place as inexpensive as it was and the way I was able to get it. Yeah, you got Fort Knox written down there. Yeah, Fort Knox. You know, that's another thing I studied was the monetary system of the United States and this Federal Reserve system. And Fort Knox has gold, and the New York Federal Reserve has gold storage there. But you know what they did? And this is funny because you'll probably still hear people say we should go back to a gold standard. Well, when we had the gold standard that started in 1913 from the Federal Reserve banking system, where gold certificates were issued. That's what the Federal Reserve notes were. They were gold certificates and they were silver certificates. Uh, by the time 1933 rolled around, there was $16 billion worth of certificates issued, and there was only 4.2 billion dollars worth of gold in storage. So when people say, "Oh, we got to have gold because that backs it," we used to have that. We used to have that imaginary system that there's gold that backs everything. A $1 gold certificate was technically only worth 25 cents in silver because there was four times as many certificates as there was gold available. And that's when FDR did the gold confiscation for 1934 was because of that. And people think that it could happen again. Oh, we should have a gold standard. It's impossible. It's impossible. How many dollars an ounce would gold have to be to do that? And then after that, to keep the economy, because the economy keeps inflating. We keep getting inflation. Everything inflates. It's impossible. It's impossible. And with that as a fact, we have had a fiat currency the whole time. Even though it's not called a fiat currency, we've had it. And when that money was created, the banks created it, not the government. And in 1913, the banks only had to pay 1% in business taxes. So 99% of every dollar that was created by the banks was their profit. In 1933, it was put up to 10%. So 10%. 10% of every dollar created had to be paid in taxes, and the rest of it was profit for the banks. And that's when they made a mortgage, those dollars that are in a mortgage that are used, those aren't dollars that the bank already has on hand. It is those dollars are created by the creation of the mortgage. The automobile, the boat, the motorcycle, anything that has a written title to it that can be registered somewhere at a government place, like a registry of deeds or the registry of motor vehicles, anything like that, money can be created with it. Today, it's like 55% is the profit for the bank and 45% is taxes for the federal and state governments. So the federal and state government makes money every time a loan is made. Uh, but the banks make money. Why should a bank make 55%? Why the heck should they have made 99% in 1913 or 90% in 1933? People don't know how their monetary system works. People in our government doesn't know how money works. Somebody showed me a video. It was one of the high level people. It was either the Treasury or for the Federal Reserve, but it was the government official, not the private official, for Biden. But I think he was an advisor. He didn't know how money was created. How the heck can they have people in charge of a system that they don't know the very basics of how it's worked? Not just currently how it worked, how it's worked for over 100 years. This isn't anything new. It's insane on how little that people know. And people aren't interested either. I've talked with many, many, many people. They're not interested. They don't look, they don't verify what I say. They just say, well, this is what this guy says. They don't check it out for themselves, which is fine, but it comes with the price. It comes with the price. These people that are running, first and foremost, we should have a printed form of every dollar that's created. There should be a printed form of it so that people literally can stuff it under their mattress if they want to. I mean, granted, there will be people that have big mouths that influence people and say, "Oh, the money's worth nothing. Look at all the money they're printing. They're printing. They're printing." You fool! That money was created decades ago. Decades ago. It's always been there. You just didn't have the ability before to take it out of the bank and hide it for when the banks destroy something. In other words, the only safety that we have, they took it away. Inflate, inflate, don't be an ingrate. Just kidding. History of money is super important. Weird folks don't know it. Yeah, it is. I was watching a YouTube channel, and it's a professor at the University of Arizona. And I don't remember the dude's name, but I watched it, and he has a history of money, and it was really good. But he skipped the part that I'm talking about. And I called him out on it. I'm like, how come you don't talk about this part? I mean, I guess I actually know why he doesn't talk about that part is because he'd probably get in trouble, maybe even lose his job. And if something could cause somebody to lose their job or even get in trouble in any way, shape, or form, then there's a problem because the public has a right to know this information. The public is totally full of bad information. It's like the public has been taught since the time that they go to school, or even before that, even by their parents, they're taught, and I like to call it urban myth. All the misinformation that we have, that we think of how our government works or how anything works, like the monetary system works, it's all wrong. It's all just passed from mouth to mouth, ear to mouth, where people grow up and where people live, and it's wrong. They don't know shit. I remember people used to say, and when I was a kid, I heard them say, "That's the law. That's the law." Nowadays, when somebody says that's the law, I'm inclined at times to say, "Well, which law is it?" Because this it's the law thing. There's a law or a statute or an ordinance for you to say that it's the law. Well, which one is it? Where is it? Are you understanding it properly? Were you told it properly? How many times have people go into court where lawyers misrepresent the law? Happens all the time. And individuals misrepresent the law, and it harms them. It harms the country, it harms them, it harms other people, and they pass on all this bad information. Next thing you know, I mean, it's happening now. People talking about revolution. We're gonna have a revolution. Are you crazy? People hate history, it seems. It's hurtful. The truth is painful. It's very, very painful. It's like a kid. It's like a kid as a child learning there is no Santa Claus and they're being lied to. And then they get older and they find out this God that people tell them about at church and that their parents talked about, it's a work of fiction. It's being misrepresented. They can't hack it. They can't take it. It's too painful. It's too much. It's their whole life. People hate change. They hate change. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of the unknown. Any major change, they hate it. They would rather pick up a gun and have a physical revolution in the country against people they don't like, because really they just want to hurt somebody they don't like. They would rather do that than to solve the problem. First, learn about it, and then second, solve it. They would rather just say, forget it about everything and just go crazy, ballistic. That's how we end up with people laying on roofs shooting at ex presidents and stuff. It's insanity. But that's human nature. That's what happens. And it should be people in government that are working to inform the public, and they're not, because they're part of the problem. No Santa, no God, no gold, oh no. Yeah, absolutely. No Santa, no God, no gold. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't and I use the word force. I'm not saying there isn't a force in the universe that literally creates our physical environment, because clearly there is. Clearly there is. Scientifically there is. But also clearly it's not what's written about in the Bible. What's written about in the Bible clearly is the history of the Satan. And that's why the world's in such turmoil. And other cultures have different names for it, but it's the same thing. It's a evil force, an evil entity that are human beings. They're not, they like to see themselves as gods, but they're not what we would consider a god to be, or even a deity. They're just evil people that are lurking in the shadows making things happen. We have that in America. We have that's going on all around the world, but it's not just going on with the people that their religion revolves around the misinterpretations of the Bible. Because technically, it's an Egyptian religion. Christianity, Egyptian religion. Judaism, Egyptian religion. Islam, Egyptian religion. They all refer to the entities that are written about in the Bible, whether it be Allah, whether it be what people call Yahweh. These entities that they refer to all were Egyptian agents that were working and living amongst the land of Canaan. And what it was the land of Canaan, which is what people call Israel today, uh, which is actually Palestine still, but nonetheless, people want to call it Israel. They uh, they were vassal states. They were smaller kingdoms, multiple kingdoms, and they were in contact with the pharaohs, whoever was a pharaoh at the time. They were agents and vassal states of Egypt, and they paid tribute to Egypt. They probably cheated Egypt. They probably lied in their accountings and all kinds of things. But whether they did or they didn't, Egypt wanted more control of those areas. And that's what the whole story of Moses going up there. You know, the Hebrew. If you look up Hebrew, Habiru, Hebrew, and look up those people. That they were the people that were likely these people that are called Hebrew today that went with Moses up into the land of Canaan, but they were criminals. They were murderers. They were rapists. They were criminals, and they were slave labor. What do we have? What do we have coming into our country today that people have been complaining about in recent years? It's been going on for decades, and it wasn't a problem when people had plenty of money. It wasn't a big problem then. When we were complaining about it in the 1990s, and the computer thing was getting going and people making a ton of money, they weren't even concerned about it back then. Now it's a big deal, but what are they talking about? Oh, these people are criminals. There are criminals coming here. And the other side saying, no, they're just people looking for a better way to live. Yeah, because they were enslaved where it was where they came from. It's the same thing as the Exodus story. Same type of people. That is how all colonization works. You look at the Spanish that came to North America, they were criminals. They're evil people, rapists, murderers, all that stuff. All that stuff. People looking to get away from the slave labor of the country that they were at, whether it was Portuguese or whether it was Spanish or whether it was English, Irish, French, any of them. It's all the same story. So that's what's going on today. They're looking to dilute the native population with these new people that had it worse than we had it, so they're willing to accept less than we would. I mean, a lot of these people that are on the streets homeless, they gave up. They gave up. They got trampled on in the workplace. They were forced to commit crimes. They didn't want to do the things that they were told to do. They call people bad employees that do that if they don't do everything they're told to do. Well, what if they're told to commit crimes? What if they're a government official and part of the duty that's expected of them is to commit crimes that their superior tells them to commit? They all have lawyers to protect them, and that's what they do. They do the same thing in the private industry. They get people to commit crimes against other people and say, well, we protect you. We provide lawyers. You can't talk about it. Don't talk about it. That's the first thing they're told about. Don't talk about it. Why are they told not to talk about it? Well, they say because you're going to get in trouble. Well, no, they don't want them to talk about it because the corporation or the local government or state or federal, whatever government that the person's working in, they're the ones that should be getting in trouble. Ghost Dancer Radio. Oh, good morning, Ghost Dancer. How you doing? Okay, Tooth Fairy must be real. Rah. Thumbs up from Ghost Dancer. Oh, oh my, so true. Prisoners escaped, followed Moses. Good morning. Hi. Yep. Good morning, Ghost Dancer. I hope you're doing well. I think the last time we chatted, Ghost Dancer, you had moved your mobile home somewhere new to live, or you got a new mobile home or new place to live, and I hope everything's going well there. Yeah, I've been running off at the mouth at the same normal stuff. I was gonna come out here for about an hour, and it's going on. Well, actually, it's just over an hour. I guess it took me a while to get out here from when I first thought I was gonna come out here. But I think it's Sunday, which means I think that local church should be firing up a guitar pretty soon or something. It is pretty peaceful here. It's a small city, like 3,000 people that live here. Not a whole lot going on, which I guess is pretty good. If I was younger and had grown up here or something, I'd probably think totally different about this place and either get out of here or dream about getting out of here. I hope all is well with you. Yes, it is. Thank you. Yes, it is, Ghost Dancer. All is well. Life is good. No big, no big events going on in the negative form, so all is good. Oh, my fire's going out here. I got to take a break for a couple of minutes. If you two would hold the fort. Not got enough coffee still. Hope no Yahoo showed up, cow rustlers or nothing while I was gone. Ghost Dancer. I have about 5 treasure hunting songs I'm going to release this month, including a song called Treasure Inside. You're invited to have a listen. Oh, cool. Yeah, what a nice morning out. Is there still Fen lawsuits going on? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. All those people are absolutely crazy that file lawsuits. Oh my gosh. How could any of them think that's what they were supposed to be doing? I mean, I guess a person can say that maybe Barbara could think that that was right, but I don't believe that she could possibly even think that it was right to do that. I mean, even her saying, "Oh well, it's a gag going on." Okay, fine. You think it's a gag going on, but you still filed a lawsuit. Why on God's green earth would you think that if you were the one that solved it, and Forrest knew about it, that the proper thing for you to do was to file a lawsuit? That's insane. And the other claims of other people where that Forrest was moving it on him, moving it around so that they couldn't get it. That's just as kooky. Oh well. I guess I kind of want to stop forgetting about that stuff. Who's Fen? Absolutely, Ghost Dancer. Absolutely. I can hardly wait to be there. I can hardly wait to be at that point. It'll be a good place to be. It'll be like somebody will say, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Forest Fen treasure hunt?" Nope. Do you want to? Nope. Oh man. You know, the, our only hope to hear of anything is through Shiloh or his mother, really. And who knows what we're going to end up hearing if it's going to be anything satisfying. We haven't a clue. I'm hoping it's going to be something satisfying, but if it's not, and it's still just left in controversy, I'm going to be very disgusted about it. I'm not going to go around complaining about it, but I'm definitely going to be very disgusted because from what I thought and the reasons why I got into it were more than just to look for a treasure. I mean, the treasure part I thought was cool. I liked the idea of it, but I believed in Forrest. I believe Forrest was actually a good guy. That Forrest, yeah, he became very wealthy dealing in luxuries. I mean, he put it in the proper wording. Forrest sold luxuries. If somebody was going to Forrest Gallery to buy something, it was a luxury. So if they can't afford it, shame on them. They shouldn't be there. If they can't afford it and they're unable to successfully negotiate, oh well. I don't like people being taken advantage of, but if it's something that a person doesn't have to have to survive, it's not basic food, clothing, housing, stuff like that that people need to survive, decent health care, then they don't have to buy it. Just walk away. Just walk away. Don't buy it. Don't have nothing to do with it. Don't even go in those places. So I thought that he was actually a good guy, that he was given an opportunity, something good for somebody. And I still do. I still do believe in Forrest, that he was doing something good. And that's what I'm hoping we're going to find out about. What it is, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not him. I think he kind of hinted towards that, by saying how would people know what I think? That's true. You can learn how people think, but that doesn't mean that you would know what they thought. If they were keeping a secret, they're keeping a secret. Nobody would particularly know. If Forrest kept a secret since he was a child, nobody would know. I happen to think that that's part of it, that he kept a secret since he was a child. And something happened at a place that he went to the year that he did not go to Yellowstone. There was only one year that happened, and I believe it was 1939. He talked about it in one of his early interviews, and somebody told me that there was another early interview that he mentioned it too. But then he stopped talking about it. I think he realized, oh, I shouldn't talk about this part. That's not a good thing to talk about. We'll leave that alone now. But I think that's what it was. I think he went somewhere as a child. Something happened there, and as he said, about what was written in the jar, that he took the most personal stuff out of there. That was the most personal stuff. Something occurred there. Whether it was good, whether it was bad, don't know. We probably never will know. Or maybe we will know. Maybe it will be in a copy of a book that his family is going to put out. Maybe that will be put in there. But I still want to know what all this is about. Why did Forrest all get us here sitting on the edge of the table, sitting on the edge of our chairs? Oh, I take it Ghost Dance is going to be getting involved in the JCB hunt. I'm not. I mean, the, there's certainly quite a value being claimed to be involved in it. Just I don't want to get involved in any more commercial type treasure hunts. If I'm going to go involved in a treasure hunt, I'm gonna go search for something that's very old. I'm gonna go search for some old pirate treasure or something, or just go searching for old treasures, doing metal detecting or something like that, like I used to do when I was a teenager. Uh, like was just saying, I believed in Forrest. I believed he was trying to do a good thing. I don't want to play a game of hide and seek with rich people. I'm not interested in it. Good for them. They got millions of dollars that they can hide somewhere to entice people to go look for it so they can sell books. Good for them. I'm not interested in playing hide and seek. I'm really not. Treasure hunting is different than playing hide and seek with people that come up with these so-called treasure hunts. It's not a treasure hunt. It's hide and seek. Well, people are going out, going to church now. Ghost answer. There has been news out that October 21st date is no longer any good. That there's news out that the new starting date is going to be in November. I think November 21st. I'm not positive, but somebody was mentioning it last night. I'm in it to win it. Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna do it, absolutely, absolutely. If you're gonna do it to win. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm really not going to get into it either, is because I'm on the obsessive compulsive side when it comes to that. And I hate to say compulsive, but it is kind of compulsive when, a new idea comes up that, oh, this is the new place, so I really just have to get there. So I guess that's a compulsive aspect of it. But the obsessive part of it is, yeah, if I was going to play that game, I would plan on trying to find all of them, not just one, all of them. And of course, the order would be in the one that I thought that I was closest to. But I would go for every single one of them, not just one. So that's another reason why I'm not going to do it. It's too much. I mean, I'm sitting here right now, and there still isn't closure from the last so-called treasure hunt. So I'm not going to get involved in another one, so that 10 years from now I can be equally disappointed in the treasure hunt, because that's all likelihood what's going to be the end result of this Forest Fen treasure hunt. It's not looking very promising. Like I said, I'm not going to go around. Certainly not going to play the game of making videos to badmouth Forest. I'm not going to make videos to badmouth JCB, but I'm just not interested in it. I play I, I played the Forest Fen game and still haven't gotten an ending yet. I'm not gonna play the JCB game. Heck, that means I'd be in my 70s probably before some ending comes up with that one. Oh hell no! I rather I rather I'd rather be out in the high desert of Arizona, building a new place to live, living like somebody from 200 years ago. than to go through that again. To hell with that. November 12th. Okay. Hopefully it'll be the best $50 I spend this year. Hopefully so. Hopefully so. I'm in line with what Alpine's saying. I believe in you, Go Stanza. Good luck. Absolutely. Absolutely. And anybody that's doing it. I mean, there are other people that I chat with that are going to do it, or are even in the process of doing it now. And good luck to them if that's what they want to do and they have fun doing it. Heck, I spent a lot more money getting a lot less for it. So even as an entertainment value, it may be definitely worth every penny. I'm just not going to be doing that. There are so many things on my bucket list I haven't done yet. I'm almost 60 years old, and I guess I don't need to add a new thing to my bucket list. I think I got to just do things that I've wanted to do, cross them off. I mean, I've done a bunch of them, and some of them it's kind of silly sounding to people. Like I bought property at auction, not just bid on stuff, but I bought property and closed on the deals on a couple of small pieces of property in Arkansas. I always wanted to do those government auctions and win something. And I got a good deal on a couple pieces. I tried to get a lot more. I wanted to accumulate a whole bunch of them, but it didn't work out. But that's okay. I got to do it. I got seasoned in it. I understand the ins and outs of it. I could do more of it if I wanted to. Farmers were out this morning. Farmers out driving his tractor with his pinwheel hay flailer. I think that's what it's called, a hay flailer. I'm not sure. To deny a cipher seems ridiculous. Ciphers are always part of treasure hunts. I hit the big 50 this year. JCB minutes, GHT be the last one for me. To deny a cipher seems ridiculous. Ciphers are always part of treasure hunts. Uh, I mean, it's really what you want to call a cipher. I mean, you were born the same year I was, Alpine, so I assume you've watched the Beverly Hillbillies, and hearing Jethro talk about going to school where he's learning his ciphering, which is letters. So every you could use it in that generic sense of, yeah, absolutely, all of it is a cipher, but people look at it more of a complex thing. I mean, like the way that I read the ancient Hebrew is considered more like a cipher, where each letter was a picture and each picture has word meanings. So each group of letters, which were pictures, is actually a phrase or a sentence. But people came up with vague meanings of that phrase or sentence and says, well, that's what the word means. But that's a newer version of it, of the cipher, which is the same place we're at with English language too. Because English language is constructed in a manner, you know, We have prefixes, we have suffixes. It creates a different picture, a different word. It was like that with ancient Egyptian. It was like that with the Hebrew. So in that respect, it's all ciphering. But I think like what Forrest was talking about was a different formats of ciphering, like transpers. Well, I mean, there's different ciphering. There's transliterating ciphering. There's transposition ciphering. There's many different types of ciphering. I mean, Mario had pointed out that Forrest had made a statement about to decipher the clues. So in that respect, that most vaguest sense, you know, replacing one word for a different word is ciphering. Yes, Code Busters. I've never seen that. I think that's a cable television show, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, people are getting up and about. Some are heading into town, which I suspect at this hour that they're going to the stores or going to church. And the people heading out of town are going to the lake. Ghost dancer. I'm going to use AI to solve it. Okay. Yeah, I had only heard a little bit about some of the information that had been put out so far, which was just stuff. I think it was on a video that JCB put out, which brings me back to Forrest Fenn Treasure Hunt. What I liked about Forrest Fenn Treasure Hunt was it was a poem. That's what a person had to try to figure out, the poem. Anything else was extra, and it was not needed. To my knowledge, JCB doesn't have that. But that's only because the book hasn't come out yet. So, to anybody's knowledge, nobody knows if that kind of thing is in there or not. But look at all the stuff people scoured through with Forrest Fenn's treasure hunt. I think he just put out all kinds of red herrings in his information, whether it be an interview that he did and he spoke something that was a red herring, or it was in print or in the Thrill of the Chase book, stuff that he had added into the artwork that people could find, whether it be words or numbers or letters or certain pictures that people took to be clues or hints. I think the majority of the stuff was red herring. Forrest said that the poem is straightforward, that no subterfuge. He never said that he didn't use subterfuge in everything else. And when I say everything, I mean everything from an interview to a conversation, everything. And there was just so much subterfuge that he put out in other manners other than the poem to confuse it and to make it more difficult than it actually was. I think if we ever find out what the answer was, that's what it will be. It'll be like, oh, it wasn't that difficult. But all this extra stuff clouded people's minds and made it difficult. I could be wrong. I was wrong once, but that's okay. A good map. I like that idea. Ghost dance radio and zigzags everywhere. Oh, there's a little sweat bee sitting on my phone. Little bugger. I came out here this morning to find a dead cat. I thought it would be pretty tacky to put that on video, so I disposed of it. I don't know what got it, but something happened to it last night. I was out here last night about 9 o'clock, and I didn't notice it out here then. Yes, it was a black cat, Alpine. Actually, it was a black cat with white on the chest and belly area. It's one of the cats that runs wild around here all the time. There's probably somebody in the neighborhood that says it's their cat, but it's their cat that they allow to run wild. There actually is not an ordinance against that in the city. There is an ordinance against people's dogs running wild, but not their cats. And it hasn't been a problem here. When I lived in a real city where it was a lot more developed and people lived closer together, it used to get me really angry because I tried growing gardens, and I did grow gardens successfully, but when the neighborhood cats would go into my yard, they treat my garden rows as though they were a litter box. That doesn't happen around here. There is a bunch of cats that I see running around, but that doesn't happen around here. You know, I have issues with the woodchuck getting in my garden, but I don't think I've ever had any issue with cats around here in my garden. So they're more. It's more beneficial in this environment because for sure they'll kill little things like rodents, for example, which we don't need an increase in rodents. So it doesn't bother me around here. Okay, a little white, saved from the curse. It's funny because I came out here and I had that CBS mystery theater radio going, and I had my phone set up on the stand here at the chair, and like 10 feet away from where I'm sitting. Like, oh damn, look at that! And there's a picture of the black cat on the mystery theater. But there is a solid black cat that roams around here that I've seen also. There's a white one. There's a black one. There's one of those tiger stripe ones. I guess I think I'll take a quick walk around, take a look at the garden, if any events have happened. Probably not. Let's do it anyhow. Uh, well, this is the garden area that I'm going to work on this morning when I shut this down. But not really anything going on here any different than yesterday. Just these are the tomato plants that came in late. I put them out late. There's tomatoes in here. There's a lot of them camouflaged. I know there's more in there. They're just hard to see, even harder to see on the screen. Have a good day, Trusty. Good to hear you again, sir. Thank you, Ghost Dancer. Good to see you. See you around another time. And these are the sweet potatoes that the woodchuck been going on now. If you remember what these ones look like, when we get out front and you see those, you'll see the huge difference that's going on. But this is another row that I actually gotta adjust where it's gonna be at, because with the new rows that I'm putting in, it's gonna get squeezed over about 10 inches. And this one's gonna get squeezed over also. And then there's gonna be 3 new ones in this area, that's what I'm gonna be working on. What do people use sweet potatoes leaves for? Uh, People can eat them. People cook them and eat them. I haven't done that yet, but people cook them and eat them. I think they can be eaten raw too. But this is the one that really got devastated right here. This got devastated by the woodchucks. I even stopped water in this area. But there's the leaves where it went outside the fence. So there might be a couple of sweet potatoes in there, but probably nothing fancy. I just got to start digging the soil out of here and putting it up against the boards against there and get it leveled off so I can put the fabric planters there, which I'm going to be using these fabric planters right here, this type. Those are about 6 feet long each. Good morning. These are about 6 feet long each, 3 feet wide, 6 feet long. So I'm going to be using these on these other rows. Yeah, there isn't really much going out front. I did this yesterday morning, but that's okay. I can do it again. Yeah, here's these sweet potatoes. That's what the plant should look like at this point. And I can hardly wait to dump these out. I mean, it's still going to be probably a month or more. And I hate to dig them up if they could possibly grow more in there. I ended up digging them up a little bit early last year, but there were some big ones in there last year. So I can hardly wait. This rutabaga is really big with the plant. This is my first successful rutabaga I've got growing. I don't know what it looks like underneath. Ooh, there's ants on it. Buggers. There are ants going around it. Oh, there is some kind of root going on there. I don't think the ants will go into it or anything. Some of them carrots are coming up. Taste the leaf. No, I'm not very big on tasting things that I haven't had before. or that I'm not positive. Like with the sweet potato leaves, one of these times I'm gonna cook some up. I seen somebody cook them up and they were eating them like spinach. But yeah, even since yesterday, see now these grow fast. Those French breakfast radishes, they grow fast. They're supposed to from seed only take 20 days to grow. But even since the last time I was out here, I think it was yesterday, these things have grown bigger within just one day. Those radishes are bigger. So I think I'm going to have to do a harvest in here and pull the biggest ones out pretty soon and try cooking them, because that's what I want to do. I want to try cooking them. Those daikons, if there's any root, well, of course there's a root there because it's growing, but if there's any real vegetable going on yet. Yeah, it's still pretty skinny, so there's not much going on. But those are relatively quick too. Oh, what do we got there? A big old grasshopper. Right there. Big old green grasshopper. Probably eating some leaves and laying some eggs. Little bugger. Yeah, he is eating leaves. There's a whole bunch of leaf missing there. Bend over. Then I feel old. Feel old when I try to straighten up. Oh, good thing I came out here. I got to open this up. Good thing I came out here. With this direct sun, it'll get pretty darn hot in here. Roll this up. See, when I watered these last night, which I watered them at sundown, the soil was kind of puffed up where, like right here, where the growing's going on. So when I watered, they showed up like this. There's quite a more showing up, but it's pretty well soaked in there. It's not overloaded inside the tray like under there where the roots are. There's not too much water in there, which is good, but it's pretty soaked on the top from the humidity in here, which is good to get it opened up so it can dry off and do its thing and do some growing today. But these ones seem to be doing the best. And these ones, I believe, yeah, these were the ones I put the towels on top of. So what I did was I first put these in jars that have strainers on them, and I'd rinse them off every 8 to 12 hours and dump the water out and leave the jar upside down so that they strained. And then I put in I use planting pots, and it's a 4-inch planting pot. So I take a 4-inch planting pot, take a scoop of cocoa coir, put it in the tray, level it out, put the peas, level them out, and then put 2 scoops of cocoa coir on top. Now, these trays that look like they're sprouted the best, I put a wet towel on top of them. I bought a dozen white towels from Amazon, and I'd fold them in quarters, and they would fit pretty much on there pretty good. And I got them soaking wet, and I left them for, I think, 3 days. And then I took the towels off. Well, I put them out here and then took the towels off. So within that 3-day period. These ones I didn't put the towels on, and they haven't grown as high. So I guess that's a success to know that it's better, or at least at this point it's better, to put the towels on. Ooh, see that? I watered these yesterday, and looks like there's excess water inside the tray. Let me see what it looks like. That's pretty excess. What I should do is measure the water. I sprayed it with the hose. But look at the root systems. When these things grow, they grow. But I can cut these. They'll actually stay at this size for quite a while. But I should cut at least one tray and cook some and put some in the freezer. But I'm going to go get some water to add to those. I guess I'll just use a quart mason jar. Should have already had one out here to use so that I can do measured amounts. As long as I stay less than a quart, it'll be okay. I get it so it's like 3 cups, I guess. That's good. It won't be waterlogged. Waterlogging's bad. That's when the seeds that are left there can rot. Okay. Tastily, I cooked a daikon thinking it was a parsnip. Thought one shouldn't water at night. Yeah, I mean, I've heard lots of different things and read lots of different things, but I don't follow everything that people say because a lot of times it's not problematic like that they say that it is. So I just do what works. Being that in the daytime, especially it gets so hot here, to water is kind of futile on how quickly that it goes up into the atmosphere. Is humidity is what happens. It gets cooked out. I mean, it's one of those things. Got to try to keep the moisture, enough moisture to keep the plant alive and not drown it. That's kind of what it is at nighttime. It's sitting there in a lot of moisture that it can absorb moisture. And when the day comes around, it dries out and then do it again. But these radishes right here, those actually, since the last time I looked at these, they're coming along. These ones here, the radishes are getting bigger. Where they're visible, they really weren't visible the last time I looked at these. And these ones are about the same size, but these ones are supposed to be able to get up to 3 inches in diameter. That's a pretty monstrous size radish. These cauliflowers are growing really good. These couple leaves, 2 leaves that are in the center, I think that's where the cauliflower is going to form. And yeah, in the next whenever I want, actually. And I like to do this in the morning when it's cool out. The leaves, they're pretty, they're not flimsy feeling like wilted, but I like them when they're nice and firm to cut those off and cut the green parts off of the stalk and cut up the stalks and cut up the leaves into pieces and put them into the freezer. But yeah, there's a whole bunch in there. There's probably 4 to 5 leaves each plant that I can take off of there. So it's going to be close to the last time, the amount that I got. I got 45 leaves last time. I got two 2-gallon bags. I did not pull the weeds out of here like I said I was going to. I'll have to do that. It's, that's not harming them. The size of those weeds, they'll be okay. Those choy leaves look delicious. I'm guessing that you eat bok choy or pak choy. Do you get it at the market? This is where my garlic used to be in here. It got uncontrollable worth of weeds because this is all clay soil in here and it's just so darn hard to pull them weeds. But there's still some elephant garlic in this area. Man, oh, there's one. Huh, look at that. Elephant, elephant garlic clove on the top. That's a good one too. Little damage on it, but that'll grow. Yep, it says, yes, bok choy, never heard of pad choy. Yeah, it's bok choy and pak choy. It's supposed to be greenish. It's a little more greenish, but it's only greenish when it's smaller. Well, I suppose the green color is different looking. One of the things that's different is the leaves are more oval shape, more rounded, or more rounded than oval. The leaves look a little bit different, and they're greener in the less mature stage. But it's still basically the same thing. It's a variation of the same thing. Okay. Yeah, I got garlic around here. Got all kinds of garlic. Where is it? I know where I put all my stuff. I'd have a memory. I had a whole tray of garlic here. Well, I think it's in the other room. Yeah. I I I put it in the back where I grow seedlings. I'll show you. In the back here, I have air conditioner, but this is where I grew my cabbage. Just a 4-foot shelf from a shelving unit that I had left over. Oops, this one's not plugged in. Thought I had that one plugged in. Okay, I unplugged it when I set up the other shelf. But anyhow, I got that 4-foot shelf. And that's where I stuck my garlic, right in the open here. And I get the bulbs here. I got the corms there. And I got another tray somewhere with cloves. Anyhow, they're in all this stuff somewhere. But yeah, this shelving unit, see, I was able to get these for like $60 when I got them. These are 4 foot wire shelves. Now it's upwards of $100 to get one. I grow sweet peppers and chives in my windows year round. Cool. I want hot peppers though. Nice garlic. Yes, I like the elephant garlic because even if it doesn't grow to as big as it possibly can, it's still a good sized garlic. That's what I like about it. But yeah, see, these are the ones that I got going. I got, what do I got here? I got, oh, this is another Chinese cabbage, Napa, which I got to find a spot for. This seed tray is Napa cabbage, which is another Chinese cabbage. You may have had that one before. That's the tighter looking cabbage that's lighter green in color. And these other ones are lettuce. It's little gem romaine lettuce, which are miniature romaine lettuces. And this is my red mammoth cabbage that I got to get outside. And these are collards. I think I'm going to put these collards in that last row of sweet potatoes that I haven't really been taking care of. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think the collards are going to go there. And then I got spinach, and my spinach, I think I'm going to put those in one of the brown raised beds that I got, one of the 3 foot by 4 foot. I got an extra one out in the front yard, which is going to go up against the house. But I grow all these things. And eventually I'm going to make videos of everything as I get things organized better here. But, I got green peas, black-eyed peas, which are also known as cow peas, lentils, mung bean, alfalfa seed, broccoli, lettuce, and spinach. Those are all seeds for growing microgreens. But yeah, it's a good thing to do, that kind of thing, growing these. This is the other way. That's the other kind of container that I use when I do sprouting. When I first sprout the peas, I've been using these, and they have a screen in them. These are actually the best ones that they had on Amazon, and they came with these little round trays, and then they got sold out and never got any more. What I did was I went towards another kind right here. Where, I don't know if you can see those screens, but those are screens that go inside the regular metal bands. And they come in packages of 10, but I bought a second package so that I could have enough for 12. But I'm going to get 3 more packages so that I have enough to do 4 cases at a time. Because what I can do is I do my measurement of a half a cup of peas in each one of these jars. Then I put the lid and a strainer on it, and I can strain them, because after they soak for 8 to 24 hours, then they got to be strained every 8 to 12 hours, rinsed off and strained until they get put in the trays. So I want to do that by case boxes. So, 4 cases I think is going to end up being the right number. So I'll get 3 more packages of them screens so I can have enough for 4 cases to do at a time. But that's just another way to do the pre-soaking part. Do them in the jars. Some people, I watch people that do a lot of them where they just do a big container at one time and then just take what they need out of that container, which I mean, that's good for them. I like trying to do measurements though, to try to get the proper amount for each unit. If I want to do 48 trays, I want to be able to fill 48 trays, not do a bin and then not be able to fill my 48 trays because it doesn't work out right because everything's being done by eye. But yeah, this is the extra. That's the extra 4 foot by 3 foot raised bed that I'll plant some spinach in. But I'm going to move it over to the front of the house. That's an extra one in that area. That's smart. Sprouts jar. Yeah, I made some years ago before I bought on Amazon. I actually had some seafood trays. If you've ever seen them, they're only like 2.5 inches tall. Uh, but they're the trays that you would see at a seafood market where they get the seafood when they go down to the docks. They come in these plastic tray bins. And I had set up a bunch of those. And that's how I used to do my mung beans when I was in Maine. But then I started making my own jars and I started buying them jar lids. And like I said, that those green ones were probably the best ones, the ones with the little tray on them. And I haven't seen them come back again. So I got the metal ones because it's not really important for the upside down aspect of them. I can just lay the jar sideways and let the air flow through it because all I'm doing is really the pre-soaking because they're all going into trays. I left my coffee behind. I'm gonna grab that. Yeah, it's warming up though. Oh my goodness. Take off my sweatshirt. Get walking around here. Changes everything. It will be nice someday having everything in an organized fashion. I'm one of those people. I like things organized, but I'm not the best organizer. Which it doesn't seem like it makes sense, but maybe that's why I like things organized because I'm not as good at organizing. Have you heard of salsify? Not really. I'm not really sure what it is. I've heard the word, uh, but that's about the extent of it. I can't come up with a picture in my head, and I've never eaten it. I mean, there are some things that people get in the wild or that they've grown from the past that I'm not really very familiar with either. I mean, like that poke Sally or poke salad. The song was Poke Sally. They grow wild here, pretty flower like a clematis. Eat the root. Yeah, okay. So that's one of the wild things that people grow and eat. There's a weed that I have growing here that was growing in my windrow piles when I was digging soil. I forget the name of it now. Tell you the truth, it's a purple weed, and I found out it's edible. There's two different varieties. They look pretty similar, but both of them are edible. It's. I guess it's a nice thing to know, but I got so many things that I'm growing that the last thing I want to do is eat the weeds that are in my yard. It's, it's satisfying to know that I can, and actually, I like that kind of thing where things can be left to the wild. That's why some of the things I don't take care of them all that well. Like the walking onions. I know I can plant the walking onions anywhere here on the property, and they'll survive and they'll grow. And whether I care for them or not, I'm always going to have onions. And if I grow them in the corner of the property, I like that. I like that idea. The same thing if I go to a new rural property, if I buy it, even when I first go out there and do some work and maybe not move out there right away, but go out there and just plant things like that will sustain itself. And then when I get there to move out there, that I'll already have things started. Walking onions is a very good example of that. But I don't know what else I can bring like out to northern Arizona that will grow on its own. I mean, garlic, that's one of the things that can be just left alone. So I can plant elephant garlic, I can plant walking onions, I can find other things. I can look. There are people that do videos on annuals that are edible, and different types of plants that people can grow that will just continue to grow and that people can feed off of. That salsify, I would say that's one of them. I've never tried it though. If it grows in Wyoming, I would imagine it would grow just fine in northern Arizona. Wild violets are peppery. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's interesting because I was working with the guy, right? We were working on top of a building, and the building's like 36 stories tall, right? So we were at the penthouse area. That's out on the out on the balcony area of the penthouses where we had our rigging work for our swing stations. So we had to go up to the penthouse area and go out there. Anyhow, there were some planters out there, and he starts picking out of the planters and eating these little plants that are growing up. And that's what he was saying. He says, "Oh, these are peppery." Like, what are you doing? He's like, "Oh, I like eating these things." But he did know about different kinds of wild things. He was telling me one time he went out to the woods and spent a month out in the woods picking wild lettuce, which wild lettuce is uh, can be used as an opium substitute, and it's not illegal. And there was a company that would pay like $20 per 5-gallon bucket of wild lettuce. So that's what he'd do. He'd go to this area that he knew where it grew very well, and he'd spend a whole month out there harvesting that stuff. Obviously, he had to go and deliver it too, but he spent a month doing that. which is kind of, I mean, it's kind of interesting, kind of cool. He was able to provide for his family by doing that. Hemp grows in the ditches here too. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I guess hemp looks like marijuana, pretty much. I guess just looks like a tree, so I suppose I could recognize it. I never really get into the hemp movement where people get into all the hemp cloth and stuff, but any kind of substitute or addition to things that people normally do is awesome. Nothing wrong with it at all. The only people that feel threatened are other industries that say, "Oh, they're butting in on our industry with this plant." For Christ's sakes, these people think that they're entitled. These conglomerates think they're entitled to shit. Now they want to be entitled to carbon dioxide and how people behave, and tax them on their carbon dioxide, or let them use things or not use things based on that. It's insane mentality. Those people are going to do whatever they want anyhow. The wealthy are always going to do whatever they want. Who the heck's going to stop them? When they go to places like where you live in Wyoming and they buy this gigantic ranch, if they're doing these little different kinds of violation, ain't nobody ever even gonna know. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. Nobody will ever know. Nobody's even gonna go there and look. I wouldn't want wild lettuce opiates. Afraid of it. Yeah, I don't. I don't mess with that stuff either. To me, it's just a rule of thumb that I use. I don't know. I don't think it's really an afraid thing. It's just it's a rule that I follow. Don't mess with wild plants that you don't know what they are. Certainly don't put them in your mouth. I mean, I remember kids trying different kinds of berries and stuff when I was a kid, and back then, I would be like, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm told never do that," and I don't do that still to this day. If I'm not sure what it is, I don't mess with it. Just pot was good. Now it's too crazy. Yeah, I hear people talking about pot nowadays and how strong it is, and this one's 10 times as strong as it used to be, and this one's that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't think I'd want to do that. I don't think I want to experiment it. I don't think I really need to experiment with it at this age of my life. I mean, who the fuck know? Who knows what it was when I was younger, messing with it? Who knows what people were giving us? Just, foolish young person doing stuff, but we trusted enough to do that, I guess. Oh, it was an ongoing experiment. We were watching the people, and that's the thing with even the kids with the berries. They're the guinea pigs. It's like you tell them, you're not supposed to be doing that. Oh, it's okay. I've been doing this for 2 years. Okay, well, we're watching you to see what happens to you. Wow, it's 10 o'clock. Yes, I was taught the same, especially berries. Seems everyone eats all those berries I was told don't eat. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Berries was the biggest thing because there'd be kids eating people's ornamental shrub berries. It's like, do you even know what that is? Yeah, it's good berries. Oh man. I was like, we got berries that grow on our shrubs. I ain't touching them. That's what I was told. I was told, do not ever eat off of plants that you don't know what they are. You grow plants in the garden, you know what they are. That's cool. Other than that, don't mess with it. I mean, when I was in Maine, I had a neighbor that grew up in Maine, and he's a country man, and he was a country boy growing up, and so he knew about different kinds of things. And one of the things they eat in Maine is called fiddlehead ferns. And fiddlehead ferns are when the ferns first come up, and they even come up through the snow too, but they come up in the springtime, and they're round, they're coiled up looking like the head of a fiddle that you play. So anyhow, that's why they call them fiddlehead ferns. They're edible, and they're kind of like asparagus, and they grow wild, and in swampy areas, a good place to find lots of them. And people people go out and pick them and eat them, but they also sell them on the side of the road during that time of year, and they're pretty good. I only seen one place that I actually seen them in a can that they were done commercially, but the other commercial thing is just roadside stands, and they're pretty good. But my neighbor was over my house one day, and we were walking through the woods, and I was hiring him to do some work. And anyhow, he stopped and he grabbed the fern and he pulled it up out of the ground, and he pulled the bottom piece off of the root, and he's like, "Oh, I love these things. They're awesome. They're like Brazil nuts." And it was a curved looking root, and it did kind of look like a Brazil nuts. I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, "That's the ferns that are like the that we get fiddleheads off of." He's like, "You can eat the roots too." I didn't try it, but he liked them. Yeah, with me, I gotta. You say that I want to learn, though. I said, yeah, I'd like to know, just to know that knowledge, but I'm I I would only try those things with somebody that I trust. I mean, heck, people consume all kinds of stuff. Look at the people, ancient people, native people that consume all kinds of stuff to so-called have spiritual experiences. Yeah, basically get intoxicated. So good for them. They want to do that. I'm not interested. My my intelligence does not come from consuming drugs. Well, Alpine, I think I should go. I was going to do this for an hour and 2.5 hours. I was glad you stopped by. Uh, so it's always a pleasure. You have a good day, and I got to get something accomplished out here. At least some of what I was saying I was going to get accomplished out here. You're welcome, and thank you for the company. It's always a pleasure. Bye bye.